320 months to live.
We learn from mistakes and pain much more than from successes and pleasure. What really helped me a lot was to talk with other entrepreneurs. Every day that I'm not happy is wasted.
When we talk about entrepreneurs, we usually imagine the stereotypical 20-year-olds in jeans and sneakers, hacking away on their MacBooks in the corner of a hipster cafe drinking soy lattes. Enrico Scopa, our guest today, is none of that. He represents a large number of business builders who came into this later in life. Enrico left the comfortable life of a partner at McKinsey to found Enrian Partners, a boutique professional services firm. And he talks very candidly how the awareness of his own mortality led him to start his own business, and what the challenges he faced were when he made the jump in his mid-40s. We discuss the importance of mentors and generally having people around for input and for feedback, but also the role of people in one's life who are very removed from the business. We take another look at the dynamics of co-founder relationships and how to navigate the choppy waters of a partnership. What is the role of values in setting up a business? And where does the fun come in? And when he feels low or needs perspective, Enrico has found his own way to keep himself grounded by tapping into memories. Please meet Enrico.
This is Naked by the Future Farm, where entrepreneurship is stripped to its vulnerable core. Brought to you by Vladi and Nektarios Lolios. And remember to subscribe, follow, and rate Naked to help us share it with the world. Enrico, great having you. Thanks for joining us.
Great being with you guys.
Yeah. So you are, this time it's different because you and we are in Prague, and Nektarios, as usual, London. How's London?
London is sunny from what I can see out of my cage.
Yeah. Well, we know how that feels. It's sunny and a little freezing over here. But anyhow, Enrico, again, I mean, this is a special time for us. We know each other for a few years. It was on and off between us in terms of the, meetings. And then I was just actually describing to Nektarios how we met again in Pakistan, which was interesting, in the hall of a hotel. You never know where you meet people again. Do you remember that?
No, of course I remember that. Like, I'm in Pakistan, which was very excited to be because it was a completely new experience for me, and a bit confused by the travel and the jet lag. And then I see this blonde girl in the alley, and I say, oh, weird. I think I know her, but of course, like, you don't reconnect. And then I had a dinner with Nadim, I think like one day or 2 days ago, today after, and he will start talking about common friends, and then she was mentioning, and of course Vladimir. I say, Vladimir, oh.
Yeah, we realized how small the world is.
Oh, really? Oh, of course she's here. Oh,
yeah,
gosh,
yeah.
that was shit. Yeah, I would say.
Yeah. No, that was
no
lovely.
idea that it could be there.
How are you doing?
Ups and downs, pretty okay. I would tell you like that we have been experiencing gigantic moment of panic, really personal panic within the company. People worried for the health of the beloved one, panic with the clients, uncertainty for the future, bombarded by negative news all over the place, lot of uncertainty. I think that being Italian, living in Czech Republic, of course, like when you are an entrepreneur, I guess like, when somebody gives you a job when you are an employee, you're of course afraid to be fired. Obvious. Or have a salary cut. When you're an entrepreneur, you're not afraid of being fired. You're not going to fire yourself, but fundamentally you're afraid that, gosh, all what I've been invested until now, it may be gone. And and it's not just a job, right? It's just
do you
something
feel
a
like
little
this
bit
is
more.
do you feel like this is actually different from, let's say, the other bumps on the journey of the business? Because I'm just like been reflecting lately whether the current situation could be compared to some other crisis down situation of, generally with the business. Like obviously the scale is across the world, but like how does it feel for you? Like could you find some parallel in there?
No, that there is the only big difference is only uncertainty. So what I mean, like if you know that you're gonna have your business reduced by 40% and reducing the growth by 2%, fine. You kind of get used to that. But now you you just like don't know you simply don't know what are gonna be the dynamics. Too many uncertainties. Before, yeah, if certain deal will go through or not, if you will find people to hire or not, but that was kind of a business as usual level of uncertainty. Now it's a complete new type of chaos, even on a personal level, right? So I think about like my mom is in Italy in the red zone. She's fine. She may not be fine any moment. That's type of things, or friends, or things like that. Then you realize that there can be personal and professional things that you were not expecting. So this brings you to have a difficult balance of being short-termish, because you can't really think too long because the future is too uncertain. And at the same time, you also cannot just stay still and do nothing for waiting that the storm passes.
The way we kind of have the conversations with founders on this podcast is ultimately about, in the wider context, things that rock your confidence, things that expose you to vulnerability, things that kind of give you bumps along the journey, right? Because we've been talking about the situation at the moment in the context of you feel vulnerable on a personal level, you feel vulnerable because the business is vulnerable, et cetera, et cetera. So we were trying to see, and this is the triggers for Vlad's question was ultimately other comparables, but in the end, we're all grieving to some extent the loss of something. We all feel vulnerable on many levels, and then that resonates. It's interesting to talk to you because the business that you're running is different from the other founders we've spoken to so far. So you built a consultancy business, right? A business that does relies heavily on people and relies heavily on interaction.
Professional services, yes.
Professional services. And maybe it's a good point to kind of start digging a little bit deeper into your background, because we know you had this career with a large consultancy, with a large professional services firm, with McKinsey, and then you made the jump. So linking it back to vulnerability, going from a very structured, high-pressured corporate life to something that is full of risk, full of uncertainty, and a lot of adventure and fun is quite a leap. I'm always curious to find out, what is the trigger for somebody to do that? What goes on in somebody's head to go, I'm going to give up all that certainty and predictability that I have.
Safety, totally. Yeah.
When I started this, and then go into something that is just unpredictable and full of big waves that might rock the boat and might tip the boat.
So, So first of all, yes, my business is a professional service business. So like even if it's not exactly consulting, but it's a business in which fundamentally the business model is relatively simple, right? You get paid more for your clients are paying your people more than what you pay them fundamentally. And then there's a lot of investment, and given that you're selling people, well, not you're selling services, but services delivered by people, you have to do a lot of investment to make the people good and to work them well. So the asset is much more intangible than a product and the other. But it's an easier business than a bet on a product which is going to have like an hockey stick curve, whatever. Now, with a professional service business, you're not going to have an hockey stick turn. It's like much more linear growth. The reason for doing something like that was thinking about that for a long time. It's a mix of things. The most important one was for me to figure it out. I was 46 back then. That I was remembering that my father died at 63, and then I was counting. Okay, how many years if I die like him, how many years I have ahead of me. I wish I'm gonna die at 103, but you never know. And then I started to count not the years, but the months. And if you make the months, if you think about that, you may be dead in 320 months. It's a low number, such a low number, right? And suddenly time became the most precious currency. Say, okay, I'm fed up, sorry. I don't want to spend another day in a professional life, which is not something that I truly enjoy doing day by day. So that was it. Say, it's no longer, what's going to be my next step in my career? Getting a corporate job, staying in that consulting company with a different role, going to another consulting company for what? For getting it's very well paid. Okay, I get more money. And what do I do with that? Is that going to make me happier? No, it's not going to make me happier at all. But every day that I'm not happy is wasted. So this was this thing, time becoming way more important than before. The second motivation was freedom, kind of childish, ego-driven freedom. Oh, I finally do whatever I want. Yeah, I want to have this feeling. So good. And I'm going to show to everybody how capable I am of doing things, whatever I want. And the third motivation, which is linked to freedom, was that at the end of the day, my passion was inventing things and building things together. So I literally wake up one day having had a dream about the values of my company. I attached it to a wall, and I wrote an email to my ex-colleague saying, thank you, I love you all, but I don't want to accept a counter offer. I want to do this.
So, there I want to go, because the piece I'm really curious about is how did the environment around you, whether personal or professional, reacted to this jump of yours?
The environment. So many of the people I was working with in my previous company were kind of approaching me to ask me to join me in this. And I told to all of them, no, I'm a grandpa when I want to play an entrepreneur because I have enough money aside and that's my time for fun, but you have a great career here, so stay here as long as you can. It's a great place. And on top of that, I don't want to destroy the team that I built here, taking away somewhere else. So I would like this to remain. The reaction of the market, especially also because, we started partnering with Milan Summits, and we were both two well-known professionals and managers of large companies. The action of the market was wow, that sounds weird. But if these two guys are doing the stuff together, maybe there is something behind that. That helped a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The reaction of my clients was that was amazing, because you don't go there. I was going back, of course, to many of my former clients, offering different services, but still telling them, hey, I have a weird idea. Why don't we do this? And suddenly, I was no longer a McKinsey partner. I was just Enrico. That was just me. And that was moment of redefining how I was feeling myself. And actually the conversation were better than before, because that in reality, probably I restarted with the people that had a stronger connection, but they became much more relaxed, open, and with less agenda, if you want. The reaction of family And I mean, like, closer family and parents and in-law and all the others were like, "Are you crazy? What an idea!" Without daring really to tell it like too loudly. And maybe they were right? Looking from a certain perspective, it's like, why you want to do something that you're gonna make so much less money, or to return to do the same money is gonna take you forever. You could have stayed there and just enjoy and for a while, or stay or do nothing. Why you want to do this? So understandable. Well, apart my mom, she has always been used to me doing things that she didn't expect, so she didn't care much. But that was a reaction. Friends, a lot of support.
Were those, the kind of also the helping, because you said something like, you used the word, this helped me, even when your clients actually looked at you and your co-founder, and we'll get to the co-founder relationship. But I'm curious, like, now I get a lot of questions from people who are thinking about making a jump towards actually being on their own and potentially going into entrepreneurship, is like, you know what, it's scary. Like, is there something that can help me to not do this blindly, like with closed eyes? So I'm curious, like, how was it for you? Like, what were the elements that helped you to actually do the transition?
What practically really helped me a lot was to talk with other entrepreneur, and I mean any type of, from a restaurant owner to the, like, from the Kebula guys, which they were helping me a lot, for the entity guys, just like people that I knew from a personal level, got connected, and I started to listen their story, and I understood, like, wow, so much I need to learn. I mean, it's amazing, right? So and I wish I would have spoken with more of them about their personal journey. And I've been continuing to stay in contact with them, because there is not, there are books, you can read The Founder's Dilemma, I've read a lot, but then talking with them and touching with my hands what was that about, that helped a lot. And still I missed certain things which would have been important. Some things you learn only, I guess, only through the experience. So it helps to continue to talk with others. I perfectly understand when investors speak serial entrepreneur, even if they maybe went bankrupt a couple of times, is because they know what they are doing. Then the business idea may be good or bad, that doesn't matter. But if you've gone through it already once, you are much, much, much stronger. I think also, especially if you crash it at least once. I think that would be important, to crash at least once. So that was what helping me most technically in the transition. But otherwise, the transition was completely natural. I woke up one day and say, okay, enough. I want to have my company. That's it. I didn't need any help.
I don't know if you realize this, but I was 46 when I started my entrepreneurial journey. So there's some parallels. Yeah.
It's a middle-age crisis,
Speak for yourself.
I'm beyond that now.
No. It's because you're clearly a person who is, on the one side, very reflected, on the other side, feeds off the energy of people, right? So it's very obvious that having people around you to bounce things off and process information with is important. But it sounded a little bit like it was there at the beginning and then it disappeared. Or at least that's how I read what you just said. Am I reading this correctly? Is there something that was between the lines?
No. You read it completely correctly, because at the beginning, until you don't have client project and real stuff, like, you have just a lot of time to think about your business. And therefore the amount of time that you spend in talking with, I was not doing anything else. I mean, than doing this. Later on, you get busy with running the business. And then you start talking with the other entrepreneurs or which at the end of the day are your peer mentor. You can't go to a ex-colleague, which is a top manager consultant, or to a manager and ask them to be your mentor, unless they have been an entrepreneur. I'm sorry, these are like 3 different jobs. It's just, there is something to learn, but not exactly what you need. Then you're busy running your business and you end up talking with your mentor, which are the peers as other entrepreneur, mostly when you crash into a problem. So essentially when it's a little bit too late. Yeah. So, and I know that it's kind of difficult maybe to go around and talk ahead of time with somebody else on the market. Hey, buddy, I have this problem. And this can be very serious for my company, because you don't want to say, oh, I'm showing the weaknesses of my company, etc., etc. So you wait too long. Well, I think that fundamentally that should be a systematic activity. Sharing and talking with the others, that's something I should have done more. So you spot it right.
You are listening to Naked by the Future Farm, where entrepreneurship is stripped to its vulnerable core.
The piece I'm curious about is actually about the vulnerability, which we mentioned previously. Like, does it come, is it straightforward in that conversation with an entrepreneur that is like, you meet somebody, you share about the business, and the business talk I get, but the piece I'm curious is like, do you come up with emotions?
For me, all the time. but I'm an Italian living in Czech Republic. Me, I come with emotion all the time. Like I'll tell you a story. One of my biggest challenge was to recruit tech engineers. Okay. And I clearly remember a moment in which a friend of mine, we are in a bar, is introducing me to 2 guys, which are like super duper expert on digital marketing and fantastic guys. And he introduced me saying, this is a very good friend of mine, ex-McKinsey partner that wants to become an entrepreneur, and maybe you guys should talk. And those guys were looking at me as I had Ebola. Believe me, I can connect with anybody if you put me in a bar. Those 2 guys were really completely avoiding me. Then I started to try to recruit people. A complete disaster, right? I didn't attract them at all. And I thought, like, how is it possible before? And then one day I'm with a guy of Kebola, which we're having a burger together. And I tell him, like, look, I'm desperate. I don't know what to do. And the guys look at me. We were in Carlin. The guys look at me, Enrico, how many people do you see with a jacket around here? And say, nobody. Yeah, you're right. How many people do you see with a white shirt around here? Well, nobody's having a shirt, actually. Everybody has t-shirts. So say, okay, like, why don't you come back here with a hoodie and a shirt to start?
Because, is that what they told you this?
Yeah, he told me directly. And then he posted on Facebook and he helped us to find people on the spot. Yeah, on the spot. So I was...
That's interesting because you're coming,
I lost a month.
So it nearly feels like, but what you were saying is like, you, in order to belong, but I'm not sure if that's authentic belonging, but it's like, feels like in order to belong to the crowd, you have to look as the crowd. Was that what you were feeling, or how was that for you? Because you were coming from a different world, but how was Enrico in this experience?
No, the point is, like, it's not that the guys which are wearing suit at work, they don't wear hoodies or t-shirt. They just do it in a different time, right? I mean, everybody's the same. So there are like multiple personalities. But when it's about business, the message that you pass if you show up with a t-shirt or a hoodie to a board meeting in which the dress code is different, they just send a signal. That's normal, right? So you need to fit in, or if you decide not to fit in, you need to have a good reason for that.
So you started talking about how you woke up one day and decided, that's it, I'm leaving, building the business. And then you mentioned that you actually didn't do this alone. You did this with a co-founder. So what's the story there? Because it means that despite this desire to start something new, you still had, in the context of the conversation of a peer, a confidant, a sounding board. You paired up with somebody. And we know that, I mean, coming from a world where we invested in companies, it was really important to look at the founding team, right? And it's a bit of a dating game. So how did you find your co-founder, and how did you realize that's the one to build the business with?
The connection with Milan was bouncing through people. So we both knew a person. We both knew two persons, which I profoundly trust, and they both told me, you need to talk to him. And when we met, we liked each other. We've been meeting and talking for several months before the transition, and then we were both sharing for personal reasons of having gone through a very difficult personal times, or we both were sharing the feeling, say, okay, look, you know what, that sounds that it may work, but please, if we do it because we want to have fun, right? It has not to be something that is going to be a pain, because you didn't want to have, again, corporate job, me neither. And the idea of having fun was what clicked. And the same feeling of time is very important. Yeah, the time is very important. Let's not waste time. Then add the fact that is way calmer than me, and therefore was helping a lot to balance my emotional spikes up and down. Very well connected in the community, had a complementary experience. It was coming from the real IT world. I was coming from what I call like slideware, even if I'm personally a geek, but the credibility. So we liked each other, and we decided to give it a try.
Yeah, in one of our businesses, we put together a document which was like principles of getting into a marriage together, and we're like 3 co-founders. And how does that? Is that something which resonates with you? Is it a marriage?
Is it a marriage? I think it's an exaggeration now, because no, of course, like people get emotional. If you're an entrepreneur, you get particularly emotionally involved in your business. So people say that my business is my baby, my team is my family, my partner is I'm married with my partner, and you create a very, very, very tight structure because you put a lot of emotional attachment there, which is good because it brings dedication. And is also bad because, come on, a baby is a baby. The company is not a baby. A baby is a serious thing. Company is a job. And the team is great and you enjoy it. Family is a different thing. Sorry. Yeah. So there are similarities, and equally with the marriage, right? It's a different type of it's a different type of contract. There are those similarities.
Did you talk? Yeah, sorry, go.
No. The reason why, by the way, I decided not to go on my own fully is because I function when I have somebody else to discuss things with. If I just keep it too much for myself in my brain, I get either anxious or hyperactive, or I start doing things which, no, I need to have somebody challenging me. I need to have somebody listening to me. I need even somebody telling me, like, I remember, like at the beginning, I was just like calling him, Milan, and what do we do here? And just hearing, oh gosh, I have no idea. I was feeling better. Oh, good.
There you are, somebody in it.
So, yeah. But that goes to the personality of each single person. I don't think that it's the general rule, like that you need to have a partner or 2 partners or 3 partners. One has to understand, do I want to be alone or do I want to have somebody to build this with? For me, it was a very natural choice.
I think some of it is also related to where you are in your life, how much life experience you actually have. Because when you talk to 20-year-old founders who are quite even more naive and more idealistic, they don't even have an awareness of how you deal with conflict or how you deal with somebody else. So maybe there's a dating analogy there, but not necessarily a marriage analogy, because when you start dating again, of course, you know that you want to do everything that's possible. And you have no idea what kind of conflicts will hit you along the way, how much you need to empathize, and the different levels of empathy. So it resonates a bit. I'm going to ask a question, and you tell me if you want to answer it or not. And this is, so you've been in this relationship with your co-founder now for a few years. How is it going now? How are you weathering together the storm of the virus situation and everything else?
We are at the version 2.0 of my company practically now, because one of the so what I was saying before is not if the things will get tough, is when they will get tough, first of all, number one. Number two is structure that even a successful business, or whatever, a business which is profitable, like, I don't want to say success. I don't know how to define successful. I'm profitable, making money and paying people, so works. But even in that case, as soon as the company starts to have its own life as an entity, as a group of people, it's completely normal that the company outgrow people. Was it like always smooth? No, of course not. Like it's just you feel like, you're abandoning me. No, I'm not abandoning you. I'm helping you. It's not me, it's you. Yeah, a bit like the dating. So it can be completely smooth.
Sorry.
No, go.
So So and maybe I'm projecting here. Again, you need to correct me. So if you enter this relationship, which is quite intense with a co-founder, right? You build a business together, and when the relationship changes, to some extent, you lose some of your support. At least that was my experience. So when I felt I can no longer talk to my co-founders in the same way that I used to in the past because they don't get me. Is this something you've experienced, and how do you deal with this if it happens?
My personal relationship didn't change. The professional relationship obviously changed, simply because the share of time that you spend there and the share of risk and reward that you share is different. It's kind of the relationship changed in a sense because the role changed. So now we can talk much easier about as if would be a peer entrepreneur or manager somewhere else, rather than the one co-running fully the business with me as before. And it is not like asking to doing it. Say like, look, Enrico, I'm happy to give you advice and happy to discuss. At the end of the day, I recognize that it's your final call because it's you that you're sitting there. So in this sense, I think it's a good compromise. Of course, there are like emotions on both sides. Emotion on one side to say like, oh, now I'm alone. And emotion on the other side, oh, now I'm outside. So yeah, a little bit of a breakup. But I think that if you pick the founder with the right values, then it's fine. And actually, we build the company only on the concept of values, and they are not invented. We've just been sitting down, talk about our personal values, selected the four common personal values we had, and we decided those are going to be the company values. Because in my view, the company values are just simply like the minimum common denominator or minimum common factor, now I don't remember what's the right translation in English, of the common values of the people. That's it. Everything else is artificial.
Was it through conversation that you guys were able to get into a place where you are today, and through all of those,
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. Only through conversation. I mean, I know there's another way.
Well, there are people who actually even recommend as one of the supporting tools is to get a mediator. So let's say to get somebody, it sounds some instrumental, but like get a neutral party. And maybe that's the case as you are describing, is when maybe the values, the common grounds is actually lost. That then somebody else steps in and helps you to navigate that process of finding that common ground again and getting into a peaceful exit in a way.
No, I never thought about it. I never thought about it. I mean, because it probably has never been like a conflict.
Wasn't an issue for you.
Was not like a conflict. I don't. At least, look. I mean, I'm Italian. I'm emotional, right? So for me, conflict, it's conflict. Being pissed for half a day or yelling at somebody, for me, is communication. So maybe that's a cultural difference here.
Indeed, Milan is Czech, right? So that's also interesting.
Yeah. And it's also super calm. So no. It's like nothing like a conflict. There's been a lot of open conversation, tough moments, love moments. That's okay. But because we started having a very relaxed and same values since the beginning, probably.
And Enrico, so we're talking about kind of the ups and downs of the journey of building and running a business. What is interesting for us and for our audience is to get insights into how somebody who goes through the big kind of peaks and troughs, what are the channels? What are the tools that you tap into when you're feeling low, when you feel you need help, when you feel you need guidance, support, call it what you like? Is there something specifically that you've learned that you're doing to help you come out of it, to help you get perspective?
A specific tool to get perspective, but also the broader group of core people. They have learned that when they see that I am down, they are very proactive. They say, stop bothering about that. We will take care of this. That helps a lot, right? Having your own people around which are gonna step in. And then as soon as your business start to have a few years of existence, well, just look at trajectory. If you grew 50% in the last 3 years, who cares if 1 year was bad in the middle? Yeah, and then I have a little. We use a lot of Trello. We love it. Simple Kanban board, and I also use it for memories. Things I was worried about. Then I moved in things which went bad, things that ended up well, and things which I even completely forgot that I was worried about. So sometimes I just go back to that.
You go back there. Interesting.
I go back there and say, "Oh, look, I was so worried about that," and then it turned out that was not so bad at the end. So maybe it's not so. Maybe it's not so terrible.
Do you come back there ad hoc, or do you have some ritual about it, which is like certain frequency, or at some point on the journey that you reflect?
I wish I would be a guy so structured to go back there regularly, but I'm not. So no, I'll just sometime I bump into this randomly. And I see it as a sign of the destiny opening my eyes. And sometimes I am just curious and looking at old pictures and looking at old memories but now in my brain that is like when we are in a tough moment, I just tell the guys, yeah, you know what? We were in the same moment also a year ago, 2 years ago. It was okay. At the end, it was okay. So you need to keep the confidence that the things are going to be okay. Even a bit, if you start to think that the things are going to go bad, again, self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
They are going to go bad.
Is there anything else on that list of those we call them tools, but support mechanisms to help you rise up from the, a little more darker moments?
Well, one of my favorite tool is my personal friends, which lately some of them are even involved in working together with me in my business, because I wanted to use the business as a platform also to reconnect with those friends, and they are very good professionals. So I breach one of my rules of don't do business with family and friends, but because I said I want to have an excuse to talk with my friends. But before that, talking with them, and they were extremely bored about me talking about my business. That's so refreshing. Splash against someone we say you know what, fun, you're a charming person, but your stuff, it's not so relevant. So kind of help. But to keep perspective, sometimes you have to also to step back and thinking about, it's a way of kids playing at scale. The health of your beloved one or your health is way more important. It's a different scale of importance.
You are listening to Naked by The Future Farm, where entrepreneurship is stripped to its vulnerable core.
We like to ask all our guests on the podcast a couple of questions. And one of them is, if you had the chance to ask another founder a question at the beginning of your journey that you didn't know you could ask then, is there something that comes to mind? Something that would have helped you? Not a business question.
No, not the business question, but I would probably exactly ask the person to tell me about all the worst moments and how they've dealt with it practically. So I would, tell me the things that went wrong. Don't brag about their successes. That's fine. That's not this. But tell me how you dealt with the things that you didn't expect to happen, and they did happen, and you were not ready for it, or that would be this. Share the negative experience.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's it. Which, by the way, it's that would be valid also for the personal life. But it's like you climb a mountain. What you would ask to a guy that you've never climbed a mountain? That's is it nice upstairs? Of course, it's nice upstairs. Now tell me the story that you slipped and broke your leg and the risk and how you dealt with that. That's much more useful, because we learn from mistakes and pain much more than from successes and pleasure. Way more. They're just much better teacher. So if somebody will be able to share in an emotional manner what they've gone through, that would help a lot. That will resonate later on. And then a lot of technicalities, but they're more boring.
The other version we of the similar question is we keep asking is what topics do you wish we would be talking more about within the founders entrepreneurial space? What themes, what topics, what we talk too little about?
One topic which I find interesting is definition of success.
Mm-hmm.
So what defines a successful company? Because there is a world of startup, which seems to me that sometimes, for example, not all of them, but certain of them, like, the definition of success is big valuation and somebody pumping money into it, regardless if they're profitable or not, because of certain things. For others, which is this obsession of definition of success is something which grows very, very, very fast and makes you very, very, very rich and famous. And then what? And then what? And again, think about my case. Okay, great. I'm going to work now. Now I'm 52. No, not yet, but soon. And I'm going to work now incredibly hard so that when I am in 5 years, I'm going to be billionaire. Who cares being billionaire at 57? What's the point? Yeah. For me, definition of success of a company which is doing something good, doing good services. It's profitable. It's stable. It's anti-fragile. Gives more than what it takes. Makes other people happy. Makes the money to run in a way that makes sense. I would not define for myself a successful company, a company in which you treat people as number, but then you have a big valuation. Fine. I mean, it's not my definition of success, but also with a lot of money and a lot of things without thinking that a definition of success for me, it's much more in the journey and in the people, how many people you're going to make happy between your employee, your clients, whatever it is. Are you increasing the total amount of happiness in the world? Or I don't know.
Yeah, actually it resonates highly because then it's interesting. We had a conversation with an investor on this podcast where he brought this up and we were discussing the different value creation beyond the financial one. And we were talking about how do you measure those, and that there is a need of an evidence nearly that, the different values you create as a company, some of those which you said, hence contribute to positive change, contribute to more than the ROI. So it's just good to hear, even where I sit, that this keeps coming up, and it's not even surprising really. But yeah, I hear you there.
I have much less experience in interacting with investors than you guys do, because decided so I have friends among people investing, but I decided to be self-funded because I could afford it, and because me and Milan could afford it, and because I wanted to be sure to have all the freedom I wanted. So I went for control over wealth in the balance. Okay, so let's experience that you guys do have there. My belief is that still, and that's also the belief of my previous employer. The ROI, it's an outcome, is not the goal. So if you are running your business well, then the economic results will arrive. It's not the other way around. So it's a result. It's not the goal.
It's been a journey to talking to you, as always. Mm-hmm. Very much enjoyed it. Thank you for being open and sharing, as you said, not just, the successes and, how it looks on the top of the mountain, but really how is it to kind of navigate the different turns and bumps on the journey. And that's really what we are trying to do here together. So thanks for contributing. Really appreciate that.
Thank you, Enrico.
Thank you, guys.
It was interesting talking to Enrico because there are some parallels in his journey. Because I left my corporate life in a very different context, but at the same time. And I didn't have that waking up in the morning moment, but I had this, I want to do something and I can't do this within the corporate life that I had. there was an option, but it never came up. So I also had this realization, I have to do this myself. The difference is that I didn't take as much of a risk that he did. But also, I mean, he's the same age, same kind of duration of time. And I ended up also in a situation where I had to have serious conversations with my co-founders. So I find it easy to relate.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that with Enrico, there's probably more.
I think so too. There were a lot of things to unpack. The piece I wrote down is by big letters is the word mortality. He talked about it at the beginning around as one of the reminders and drivers for him to do the jump. And I was just thinking about this also lately, reading a book which is talking about this and how important actually it is in one's life to think about mortality. You know, it just reminds us. When he said about those months and counting months, I was like, yeah, it's scary. We don't go there very often, but indeed it's very, like, useful indeed, a concept to apply. When
I discovered the Reboot podcast, and we can share the link in the notes, right? I listened to a handful of episodes randomly across the 100 or so that they had published by then. And the one thing that I felt was common to all the people who were on this podcast was, I don't want to go through life without leaving a mark. I don't want to leave this world without having made a difference.
We all want to leave a legacy.
Yeah, but it's not all of us. And this is it. This is what is very, very, I think, very common to a lot of entrepreneurs. And if that's your driver, then the experiences you have in your journey are different, right? And that's where the kind of the implicit loneliness that he was talking about, it sort of came through occasionally.
Yeah. I also love the Trello bit. Do you do this for yourself? Do you remind yourself the moment?
I don't have a Trello. I use my kind of calendar app. My brain works in a way that goes, I know what happened a year ago today, 5 years ago. I love the memories function in Facebook because of that. Because it's a sort of diary, if you like. And ultimately what he described with a Trello is just a modern version of a diary, right? When you write down the things that went wrong and the things that go well.
It's a good habit to do.
Yeah.
And come back to it, really. This friend of ours does this habit, like she reflects and takes the proper time around end of the year. And not only she reflects, but she emails to people who were part of the high moments with her, and she lets you know. And I received one of those emails and I was so touched, and I was like, this is nice, small moments. So there was a lot of good stuff in here today. I really enjoyed it.
You've been listening to Naked by The Future Farm, where entrepreneurship is stripped to its vulnerable core. To learn more about our work, sign up to our newsletter or visit thefuturefarm.co, where you can also apply to be a Naked guest. Naked is produced by Dan Turgel, coordinating producer Alena Zamilova, and edited by Catherine Dworkin.
And remember to subscribe, follow, and rate Naked to help us share it with the world.